we're told, the angel of the covenant, 185,000 Assyrians dead. In the morning when they woke up, they said there were corpses all around. The war done. Sennacherib had to pack his bag. Sennacherib had to go back home empty-handed, where he was murdered by two of his sons. I'm over to Thursday's lesson. In sickness and in wealth. You know, God is merciful. And sometimes he's a little more merciful to others than some than others. But, you know, that's how God is. You can't fault him for that. God told Hezekiah, get your house in order. You are going to die. I want him to tell me that when I'm going to die too, you know. You know? So I can get my house in order. You don't think that would be very merciful of God to tell me beforehand? I don't want to die suddenly. No, sir, I don't want to die in my sleep. I want the Lord to tell me, Brother Peter, get your house in order. I'm coming for you next Sabbath. Sennacherib was told to get his house in order. But Sennacherib wasn't ready to die as yet. So he appealed to God and said, boy, Father, you know, this kingdom business is good for me, you know, I like this throne. Just give me a little more time. And God said to Hezekiah, you know, I'm going to give you a sign. You know, Hezekiah was the exact opposite of his father, you know. God asked his father to ask me for a sign that I'm going to deliver you from the Assyrians. You remember? And him not ask for no sign. And we find Hezekiah now asking for the sign. The Lord said, ask me for a sign. And Hezekiah asked for the sign. And the sign was that the shadow is going to go back 10 degrees. I don't know if you all here know what a sundial is. The sundial have a little shadow, and as the sun moves, it tells the time. Them have one up by NCU. If you have never seen one, you can go up to NCU to look at it. The shadow is supposed to only go in one direction because the sun is moving in one direction only. But the shadow went back 10 degrees, which means that the sun, well, it's actually the earth that was turning now because the sun is there. The earth, instead of turning the way it normally turns, it turned back a little bit so that the shadow moved in the other direction. Now, this was the sign that Hezekiah got, and he knew that his life was going to be extended. Now, I know Hezekiah alone did see that the shadow moved in the wrong direction, you know. The Babylonians were students of astronomy, and they realized what happened. And they heard through the international news that Hezekiah had something to do with the shadow moving back. They sent their emissaries to Hezekiah to find out what agwan. Now, this should have been an opportunity for Hezekiah to big up God. To big up God. And what did Hezekiah do? Hezekiah big up himself. He showed them all the treasures of his palace and of Solomon's treasures in the temple. He showed them everything. And they left. And then Isaiah came to him and said, who were these men who were here? He said, they were men from a far nation. He says, so what did you say to them? He said, I showed them all the treasures of the kingdom. Isaiah said to him, these same men are going to come and take away all the treasure. And I'm giving you a little hint now. This is part of the intrigue. You know what Hezekiah said? He gave the most unexpected response. And if you weren't alert, you would have missed it. Hezekiah says, not in my lifetime. Hezekiah already knew. I've kind of finished the review of the lesson now, so I'm going to go into the intrigue and the mystery that is built into this story. Firstly, Hezekiah said that he wanted to stop up the water so that when the Assyrians come, they wouldn't find much water. Fake news. There were other sources of water that were nearby. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that Hezekiah says he was going to build up the foundations of the walls of Jerusalem and Molo. That is good news. The third thing he says was that he was going to construct a waterway. Now the waterway actually ran, according to my map, from the spring of Gihon under the walls and into a place called the Pool of Siloam. All right, let me not go too much into that. He made darts and arrows. That is good news. Now, what I'm going to suggest to you is that part of the works that Hezekiah did, especially in constructing this waterway underground in Jerusalem, was actually a diversion for something that he was going to be doing that is not actually recorded in scriptures. What happened after Hezekiah prayed to God? The scripture says the angel of the Lord went out and 185,000 people were dead. But that's not the important part. The important part is what comes immediately after. It says, and when we woke up in the morning, we saw them dead. Let me tell you, if Jerusalem is under siege by the Assyrians, nobody now sleep. Nobody is going to sleep. But yet the text says, when we woke up in the morning, everybody was dead. I'm just going to give you a scenario. What I believe happened was that the angel of the Ark of the Covenant came out. A deadly sleep came over everybody who was in Jerusalem, apart from a few faithful priests. The angel went out and slew the Assyrians, and then they took the Ark of the Covenant and the furnishings of the holy and the most holy place and hid them in the works that Hezekiah had constructed below Jerusalem. And follow me now. You remember a few quarters ago we studied about Ezra and Nehemiah, and they listed out all the stuff that the Babylonians had taken out of the temple. You see any ark? You see any lampstand? You see any table of showbread? No, by the time the Babylonians conquered Jerusalem and sacked the temple, all that was there was some bowls and some goblets. That's all that they got. Further, this is Roman history. When the Romans came to conquer Jerusalem, they purposely went into the temple to see which god the Jews worshipped. And when they went into the holy place and the most holy place, it was empty. And this is recorded in Jewish history. This is the intrigue. This is the mystery that is buried in the lesson that we have reviewed for this week. Continue to be faithful, my brethren. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes.
You think you pause already? No. If you want to type a message, or you type a message on.
And a message.
As people type a message, hi everyone, excited with you.
Amen.
Well
And
done.
one last word. Ellen G. White did say that the Ark of the Covenant is going to be found before Christ returns.
That's a big last word. No fucking way. You talking about a costume or yourself?
All right, that's all.